Hey, what's up everyone, Blade here, and welcome back to another video of 7 Deadly Sins Origins. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be showcasing all three of Gowther's specs here and giving our first impressions on the character himself. Now, I originally did 3 different videos for this on stream yesterday, but for some reason I was having some blackout issues in between the video. Haven't seen that in a long time. I think it's been at least a good year and a half since I've had that happen, but whatever was happening, it kept occurring throughout the entire video, so I ended up scrapping it. And unfortunately, we can't do the P4 side of things. But I am going to keep my impressions based still on how I originally thought them as be and trying to take it as a P4 standpoint. Even in the off chance of having the extra duplicates, my standpoint will not change based on what is called the newer duplicates for that are being here. And I'm still going to give you guys my other honest opinion. So look forward to it. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So as I did say yesterday, I pre-recorded all of the ones going over each and every last of the specs here. And as a TLDR, I can straight up say it right now. My first impression of this character is that he is heavily dupe reliant, and that for the low duplicate side of it, I think you should skip this character. He is okay with the staff spec at a low dupe amount, so like P4, that's pretty decent there. But for what he wants to do in the wand spec, aka be a burster, he cannot do that due to the team that is needed, aka our Merlin, who does thrive off a combo ult. He's not able to really do his bursting side, so he's more or less acting as a sub DPS. But with that, that's just an overall TLDR. But if you want to go into detail with it, let's start with the wand spec. The wand spec is meant to be a burst type spec here that is very into let's go ahead and get on some of the debuffs here while heavily increasing our bursting amount. It does a ton of burst gauge charge here. If you pair it with even the burst set, you're going to be bursting instantly pretty darn quick. And of course, as you go up the potentials, it gets even more so worth it. The only problem is on the lightning team, especially with Merlin, you are using combo attacks. You're not ever going to be using a just regular burster because Merlin specifically does need a combo ult in order to proc what she needs to proc. Now, if this was the staff spec, you could still do the combo ult with Merlin, but unfortunately the wand spec does not have a combo ultimate with her, so it absolutely negates itself. So what the character is trying to do, being a burster, doesn't really help. In fact, it goes more into the sub DPS slot. So checking out the first skill being the arrow barrage here. Every time one of these arrows do hit, it does increase the burst gauge. If the ally or if the enemy is actually attacked by this, it then decreases the lightning defense by 6%, and this is going to go for 30 whole seconds up to 4 whole times. This is a really good debuff, honestly, for the defense down that it's giving, but it isn't anything too spectacular. Where things start to get a little bit better here is with the special skill, which is called Savage Arrow, in which not only are you immune to reactions and decrease your damage taken as long as you're in the stance, but if you fully charge this on up here, you're able to increase critical damage of this by 100%. Now, the only caveat to it is you have to have a lightning burst activated, meaning using this skill without a burst active, aka for a burster, that's kind of weird. Using this skill without a burst active, you're not going to get that extra increased damage. Another reason this character kind of contradicts himself. If we go ahead and fully charge it as well, if the enemy does have a barrier, it does do a defense shatter increase by 25%, which is the great part to it. But since the character is acting as a burster or meant to be a burster, 2 of his moves are already contradicting what they're meant to be done with, and mainly leaning into more of a sub DPS slot range. Even if we check out the passive here, the passive, he does increase our lightning attack by 10%, but this is going to be based on the hero's attack and for 30 seconds. And it is only active as long as there is a lightning burst proccing. So this means if there's any type of thing going beforehand, this is not going to take place until a lightning burst is active. This character has a little bit of an identity crisis on this type of moveset, which is where the other side of it is more active, where it's more helpful. Even coming down to the ult, as long as the enemy is in a lightning burst effect, this will deal additional damage and more damage than it naturally is going to deal. With how things are going, just looking at Gowther without the extra potentials, the P4 itself, right? He is meant to be a burster. but everything is reflecting differently with this, and it is not helpful for a P4 degree. If we check out some of his potentials at the P5, this allows him to burst even faster, which is kind of probable or doable for most players. But this isn't the big part of this character. In fact, majority of the big things for the character comes down to the P6 and then leading to the P7. The P6 is giving you the extra crit chance that you are looking for, as well as the ultimate skill damage, which is going to be very helpful as a sub DPS, not a burster. And then the P7 itself is where your bursting is where it actually comes in handy, because this gives you an extra special attack as long as it's a max level hit on the enemy and as long as a lightning burst is already procced. If this has happened, you get that extra special attack, and this can allow for some crazy things such as taking down shields very quickly or dealing additional damage. But with that out of the way here and going about it, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm running right now. I do have the 5-piece set right now of the new raid gear. No, this is not probable for everybody. If you wanted to just know a right side of what you want to get out of this, I would pretty much suggest you guys to use the burst set. Though, if you're trying to use this character, which how it contradicts himself like a sub DPS, you're more than likely going to use 3-piece Corrupted Watcher to get some extra damage out of it. But with the actual our engravement gear that you're going for, you're using the Secret Date Night. I got lucky and got a level 3. And for our weapon here, you want to go ahead and use the Gluttonous Soul. Now, currently, my weapon is not really good. I will probably have a later video talking about what stats you can use on the guy later, but right now that's what we got. But let's go into the boss challenge, and I'm going to play this character how you would want to play as a burster, right? If you're going for bursting, you're meant to keep this character as the burster. So we would end up going ahead and using our buffs with our Elizabeth, using our buffs with our Daisy, and then you would technically go to our Gowther here, and you would prop off the E skill, making sure all of these hit. Then you go ahead and use that. That's what you would have on the off chance if you did not have any duplicates. If you had another duplicate, you go ahead and press that Q again. And since he's bursted, this is technically where you come in with our Merlin. Merlin then is able to come around here and just use her skills, which would be if you're using him as a pure burst. Here's the problem. Merlin, you want to activate a combo attack. So technically I could have used a combo attack there. But the problem is it doesn't help us on the burst bar because the burst bar is already active. And 2, if you're using Merlin, you're probably using the Black Flame weapon, which since she didn't proc the said burst, it did nothing for her. That is where the character itself is contradicting itself. As much as it wants to be a good burster, it does that, but it doesn't help where you need it to help at, seeing that the team is absolutely contradicting. Now, if we go ahead and go back in here and use how you're supposed to use this character, which is as a sub DPS, it becomes immediately unfriendly to the P4 potential for system. Reason being is because you're no longer using him for buffing, or at least for the bursting. You're now using him as a secondary DPS that will absolutely shred the enemy. So let's go ahead and go in, do the same thing again. Going to use our Q, use the E, swap to here, pop this off. And once we get enough, which we're going to go ahead and try to build up enough magic charge, we swap on in. Merlin comes in with the combo ults. You then will press your Q, and then Gowther comes in, popping off the E into the Q. This gets rid of not only just the extra amount of defensive properties here, but it also gets rid of or does a little bit of extra damage, which is where the character likes to shine. If you're at a low duplicate mount, you're not only not going to be able to get that second arrow in, but you're also not going to be able to really make good use of this character, which is from consecutively hitting off the shields and dealing good damage. Majority of its damage as well as the shield breaking properties are gated by the duplicates, which is the bad part of this wand. If we're thinking of just the burst bar, he does that exceptionally well at a P4 standpoint and even better at P5. That's nice, but seeing that the team is highly contradicting, it absolutely does not allow this character to work how he should be working on this spec, which is as a sub DPSer. Hence the reason why my opinion on this weapon as a impressions, just like I did earlier, is if you have him higher potential, he's godly. 7 potential, 8 potential is where he is thrived at, and where he will really make himself known as a sub DPS and how he's really meant to be played. If you're anything lower, you want to skip this, even based on this actual fast burst that he does have. I'd like to introduce you all to a reoccurring sponsorship of mine that allows me to save a ton of money on 7DS Origin, and that's Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a top-up website that is trusted, secure, and immensely cheaper than many in-game stores, in which you may have heard of it quite often if you're in the gacha gaming space, and for good reason. Lootbar.gg is my main way of saving money, seeing that you can get up to 20% off on many games and their currency. The way that they do this is by using official top-up channels, unlike unauthorized sellers do, in which I use them quite often, but not only for just 7DS Origin, but my main game P5X, Duet Night Abyss, and that's always been the thing on this channel. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate, so of course, if I can save some money, it obviously has helped me out a lot. They're pretty fast and reliable, and the more you use them, well, the faster it's gonna end up being. All you gotta do is click my link down below, which will give you various deals for in-game items, all on 7DS Origins. Give it a little bit of time and the item that you purchase will be delivered for you to enjoy. If you'd like to support the channel and consider, of course, staying around, consider checking that Loot Bar link down below. It really does help me out and allows me to make good videos like this all the time. But with this out the way, let's go ahead and check into the video. Now the next spec, which is going to be the Grimoire, this one is another one that I would say is pretty darn good, fantastic, but it has a lot of things contradicting it. Reason why I say this one here is because although it can be used in future tenses and pretty much be helpful, this character, just going ahead and checking out the passive, has the link. Now link is pretty much the hijack along with the sync here, where he's going to pretty much keep all the characters linked together, and that is where you're able to get some extra things out of this. Well, with the passive, it inflicts something called sync for 15 seconds, which is additionally 25% extra attack if you can get the stacks on up. Now, once a link is procced, which you're usually going to be using the Nightmare link here, it will decrease their block rate by 10%, and it will allow you to pretty much do anything to those characters all at once, as long as in that 30-meter standpoint. Sounds freaking awesome, sounds cool. It then ties into Memory Break, which inflicts damage to all the linked people and pulls them towards yourself, decreasing the defense down by 20%. Now, although this sounds really good, right? The physical spec already is in a very iffy mode. If we're just looking at the defense decreases or the debuff that it does apply here, block rate honestly for 10% isn't that much. And we've already noticed this when we tried to put gear that was really helping out Escanor and you would still get blocked. So the block rate by 10% is not going to be a heavy change. The thing that is the big one to point out is going to be the decrease in defense by 20%. But where this gets undermined is because characters like Hauser could very well do this with having additionals such as crit resistance down, crit defense down, that are automatically worth it. That's where the book spec is a little bit lackluster. Instead of it being a lot of debuffs like it should be, this character has a universal element typing that is practically useless. For regular mobbing, being able to drag them towards you does work. Though versus bosses, you're not really going to be able to drag the boss, and in fact, the boss just says no to that. So, the only other thing that's good about this would technically be the ult, being Blackout Field. Now, Blackout Field here does a decent bit of damage and inflicts Shutdown for 5 seconds. Shutdown pretty much to any enemies that are not immune, you are now allowed to keep them stunned. Like, they just get petrified, they can't move, their whole system shuts down, and then take 100% increased damage. This sounds great, right? Here's the bad part. The magic consumption is already 5 orbs, which for a team like Merlin, you really want to keep all your orbs to yourself so you can keep your electric loop going and keep your combo ults going. Although the combo ult is very cheap, having more of those allow you to immediately go ahead and trigger another combo ult once you're done and keep your rotation going and kill whatever you need to kill. If you're using something that usually takes a 5 magic consumption, ult here, it now beats the purpose of the combo ult that then is going to take 4 magic consumption, being very strainful on your actual magic ult gauge, right? That's where this ult is a little bit bad. Not to mention the 5-second window is not a long time, and the only way to get more out of this is from the duplicates. So if we go ahead and check out the potential, which is where he thrives at, once again, the lower potentials aren't really that crazy. You get a defense decrease here, it's pretty nice. You also get some extra magic charge, which is pretty nice, but these aren't really where anything starts to shine. P7 is where this character truly comes in handy. Not only are we amplifying the damage of our link, which is even better, but we're decreasing the cooldown. And the next big one that happens is going to be at the P10. P9 doesn't help you all because it's ultimate move reliant, while P10 gives you extra 3 seconds of shutdown, as well as when you're landing the ultimate move, aka the thing that really this character is trying to lean you to do, you then get a crit defense up by 40% for 40 seconds. If this was based in his own kit, like let's say we got the extra 3 seconds here, meaning 8 seconds there, it gives you more than enough time to go ahead, do your rotation, pop off the ult, and then come back into another DPS character to just get some of the rewards and benefits of this. Unfortunately, since we have 5 seconds on this at a low dupe amount, this character is not free to play friendly, even in the aspect of what about Derriere or Bond coming out if they have a physical spec. Although it is universally usable, the universality of this spec is not going to happen until you are P10. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a try as well and show off what we're doing. Now, I'm technically using the wrong set as well. I could just use the same one, and just for what's called video purposes, I am gonna use the same one. So let's just do the same thing, right? I want to make sure everything's the same so no one gets on my case about, hey, you didn't do the same set here, you didn't use this here, I don't feel like hearing that. So we're gonna go ahead and put everything on the same so we can actually try this on out here. So getting our gear on set here, I do believe it was this piece here for magic charging that we're going to use as well. So now we have the same set, right? Now on this one, you want to go ahead and use the skill 2, or at least use the engrave 2 here. Reason that we're saying this is because this one allows you to get additional damage off the link, and if you use the ultimate move like it's entailed to be used, you get 20% extra crit damage and all elemental damage, which is very, very helpful. So now we have all of this on here, we can go ahead and go showcase this character. Now keep in mind, at higher duplicates, this character is worth it. He is very much so done very well, but at a high welled out potential. Even for the book here though, I do feel like the book, even at its max, is still lackluster. You don't have a lot of things that you're able to do here. So let's, for example, do this here. Let's press Q, press E, gonna get this all set up here, perfectly fine. And what we want to do now is use our E skill, and then we press Q. And as you notice, we don't drag them. We don't do any of that here. So only thing that's left to do is our R skill, which it does just what it needs to do. It gives you more than enough time to go ahead and keep them paused here. But remember, that is a 5-second cooldown. Since we did not have enough magic charge efficiency to really benefit off of this team here itself, it just didn't help us out at all. We weren't able to obviously, what's it called, proc off our combo ults with the Merlin that we need to combo ult with, and that is a little bit of a downside. Now granted, if you wanted to, he does have a combo ult, does do really good with the fire spec of Merlin. So on the off chance that you're using the fire spec, which I did have some people try and do this as well, using the fire spec, it does do a little bit better. Unfortunate side of things though is still, even then, on the fire spec, you want to have a lot of magic charge orbs in order to do what you need to do here. And that is going to come down to anything that you want, such as Escanor's ultimate, making sure you're doing the best that you can do. The book itself just doesn't bring a lot to it. You're not going to be able to drag most bosses. You're not going to be able to do everything else that you need unless you're at the higher spec. Once again, the block rate is nice, but not many characters are really going to benefit off of this. One, seeing that block rate itself is still kind of just based on the luck and RNG at the end of the day. We've tried it multiple times with other characters, and it's just not good enough to say this is really good of a type of spec. Even with the special attack later on down the line, you're not able to get majority of what it's offering until you get to the higher area. Once again, making this type of spec here, I would say the worst out of all three. And on my first impressions, I don't really like it all too much. Lastly, going over the last one, which is going to be the staff. This by far is probably the best build he has here and the most free to play friendly. Reason why I state this is because based on its straight up way that it's going here, yes, it is only bound to lightning teams. Unlike the book that can be used with universally anyone, the book doesn't have much usability. Although this one is tied to one team here, this is perfectly fine. Because as a lightning user, if you are anyone who loves lightning users here, not only is it helping you out with your combined attack, which is meant for Merlin, helpful, meaning you can use the combined attack not affecting her, but it then provides a debuff duration efficiency increase by 30% for all of your characters, which is insanely good alongside of the pierce that it offers. Going ahead and taking a look at the skills here, Invasion Field, you're getting decreased lightning resistance, which is by 40% automatically on enemies. And then taking a look at the circle impact, you're then getting the extra charge. Although it's meant for lightning heroes, it is allowing you to get buff duration efficiency by 35% and lightning damage by 25%. This is incredibly good. This is just at base. This is the character being at P4. So if you're a person who wanted to summon for the character and wanted to still use them, this is the spec you'd go for. Everything is not tied by potentials, and if you get potentials, yes, it does make them a lot better, but this is more or less the one that honestly is more usable for a lot of people, because even at P5, that's crit resistance 20%. If you stay at P4, you already have more than enough debuffs and buffs on it that is meant for your lightning team. And as you slowly go up higher, he gets even more busted with magic gauge, restoration. Obviously, we're getting crit damage 70% at P10. So if you did go ahead and invest into this in the long run, it still does fuel into he is very investment heavy, but just for this staff, this is the only one that does respect a little bit of your time as a low investor. So we go ahead and check out the gear set that you want to use here. I have him mainly on magic charging, so anything that has magic charging efficiency is what he's using, alongside with 4-piece what's called Life's Crystal. Life Crystal, I honestly think is just the best thing for him to be using here for this, because it's just giving you the extra amount of HP that you are getting, which is fantastic. So let's go ahead, give this a little bit of look-see. I don't know why my Life Crystal is saying that it's just not working. Like I was just noticing that for a second. Wonder if it's, yeah, no, it's tweaking out. For some reason, it just says it's not working, while the other two, okay, wait a minute. Now something's weird. I don't know what's happening there. Whatever. We're gonna act like it's still working. I guess it's just maybe a visual glitch or something that's going on, because we do have the 5-piece here, and for some reason it says 3-piece. So who knows? It's probably some just mix-ups that's happening. But we're gonna go ahead and use this how he's intended to be used. Now this character is meant to have his things like used back to back. So we put down our field, which is our Q, and then we follow up with our E. And at this point in time, you have all your buffs and debuffs there. Guess what? You don't have to swap, because at that point in time, since you're already getting all the magic charge efficiency that you wanted to get, you already have your buffs and stuff placed on the field with your lovely character here. All you have to do, pop these on off, and guess what? Combine ult, meaning you can swap to Merlin, pop off your Qs, and be perfectly fine. This is where this is actual perfect for this character. You can immediately pop with your Gowther and be perfectly fine on everything that you want to do, and while not messing up your whole rotation. If you wanted to make it even better, you could swap to Merlin and have her proc it specifically so you can get that enhanced Q off as well. This is where the character is going to shine. Even at low duplicates, the character does very well with using the staff. Everything else he's really lackluster on, he's really dupe reliant on, while the staff is way more lax. It is very nice to you. Only downside is it is very bound to lightning, which does suck for the character as a whole. So if you were hoping for a character to have a little bit of universal usage, nothing really gives off that besides the book, and the book is just not giving you the most for your buck unless you are duping them out. But as you see, you would do something like this, get your enhanced off, and then just spam. That's just how that works, and you get the most out of it. Granted, this is a P10 Merlin, keep that in mind. Do not try to copy that all the time, but it still does work. With that being stated, guys, that is as long as the video that I wanted to do here. Originally, they would have all been shorter, of course, if I had this in a separate form, but seeing that we had to do it this way, it's going to be a lot longer of a video. Let me know if you're going to summon for Gowther or not summon for him. My personal opinion is skip this character, but I'll have a different video for that in the future. So then, everybody, stay sharp. Peace out.